Good morning. My name's Julia Hokinson.
And I'm Becky McHale.
And we are so excited to be volunteer co-chairs of this year's Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Fundraising Breakfast. This is our 19th year, and our theme is Rise Up.
As co-chairs of the event, we are so sad we can't be with you in person this morning.
Yeah, this virtual thing is a little bit different, but we are really honored that you chose to spend your morning with us, rising up for MIYFS.
But we didn't do this alone. We are so honored and grateful to have worked with a breakfast committee full of dedicated individuals who put in countless hours of work to bring this breakfast program to you. Say hi, breakfast committee.
We hope that you're cozy in your pajamas, but before you settle in for your pastries and your coffee,
or your hot cocoa,
we hope that you will join us in the first ever Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Breakfast Committee Pajama Jammy Jam. Come on, everybody, rise up.
Return to the Mac. Get up what it is, what it does, what it is, what it isn't. Looking for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking a new hit. Me get up. First shot, come strut walking. A little bit of humble, a little bit of cautious. Somewhere between like Rocky and Cosby's for the game. Nope, y'all can't copy yet. Glad moonwalking, and this here is our party. My posse's been on Broadway, and we did it all.
And now we're ready to pass the baton to our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Joel McHale.
Oh, hey. Hi. How's it going? Good morning, everybody. It's early, isn't it? Let me take this off. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everyone. It's me, Joel McHale. Remember? That's okay. Hey, it's an honor to be hosting this year's Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Foundation Virtual Fundraising Breakfast. I am from Mercer Island. I know that, it'd be weird if I wasn't and I'd be hosting this. I guess that really doesn't matter. I actually went to preschool at Luther Burbank, where Youth and Family Services is located now. So this works out great because I was wondering if you could check the lost and found. I left a poncho that says Ernst Hardware across it, and then I think I have there was a hat, a trucker hat, that says Herfy's Sandwiches. Now, I know there's a lot of people, well, older people out there that will understand those references, but first of all, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for waking up this early to watch this fundraiser. It is incredibly generous and nice of you, and I hope you're not too distracted by this thing here. Cinch up your terry cloth robes and make sure your slippers are secure because we're about to start. So again, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Foundation Virtual Fundraising Breakfast. Yes, now this year's theme is Rise Up. It's right there on the masks you hopefully got. Now, we're gonna have a lot of fun this morning. We're gonna play a game that goes along with Rise Up. Now, you can enter to win some pretty super wonderful, cool prizes. This is the Rise Up game, and it's very simple, very simple. Just keep track of every time you hear someone say any version of the phrase rise up, such as rising up, risen up for you churchgoers, rose up, uprise, uprose, whatever you want. Look, if you have to, but you have to hear it, okay? On-screen graphics and texts don't count. Then tally up the number of times you hear any version of that phrase today and send that total number to riseup, MIYFS, @gmail.com. That's riseup, MIYFS, @gmail.com to play at home. It's the only place you can play. Now be sure to include your name and your contact information. Full rules are available on the breakfast website, breakfast.miyfs.org. That's breakfast.miyfs.org. The first 20 will get a bunch of prizes. The game starts now. All right, so YFS. Why are we here? Now, we know that YFS has been here for this community to help deal, since 1973, by the way, to help deal with the stresses of life, of school, of marital stress, substance abuse, so many different areas that people need help. But in 2020, our planet went crazy and experienced an unprecedented amount of mental stress and social dislocation, not to mention the run on toilet paper. I still didn't see that coming. And perhaps the hardest part is that we have been distanced from each other and not able to witness each other's struggles and our joys and see each other's needs and help people. It just hasn't happened as much. Just being around people, I miss that. I don't miss the close talkers. I can't stand close talkers. So that has been a good thing about this whole pandemic. Now, but other than that, we hope this program helps connect us and helps us better understand the struggles facing our children, our neighbors, and our seniors. So thank you again for being here. I'm going to introduce Jim Schwab, who is the president of the Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Foundation. He's from the board of directors. He's the man. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Jimbo.
Thank you, Joel. Welcome, Islanders, to the 2021 Rise Up Virtual Fundraising Breakfast. My name is Jim Schwab, and I'm honored to serve as president of the board of the Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Foundation. This has been a very challenging year for all of us. Who could have predicted the road ahead when we were gathered together for our last MIYFS Foundation Breakfast in February 2020? I wish we could all be together today in person, but through the magic of technology, our volunteers were able to rise up and create this virtual event for you. I want to invite you to learn more about and support the work of MIYFS and the MIYFS Foundation. Mercer Island Youth and Family Services is a unique public-private partnership that serves as a safety net for our community. MIYFS is a city department that offers an array of counseling services, emergency assistance, and youth development services. I serve as president of the MIYFS Foundation, which is a 501c3 organization that raises private funds for the city department. The foundation is just one of a few funders of the city's MIYFS department. To tell you more about the department, I'd like to welcome Tamby Cork, the department's Community Development and Administrative Program Manager. Tamby?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Tamby Cork, the administrator for the Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Department with the City of Mercer Island. Thank you for joining us today. Mercer Island Youth and Family Services is the primary human services provider for island residents. We provide mental health therapy for individuals, couples, families, students. We provide emergency assistance for families who are experiencing financial insecurity or housing insecurity, food insecurity. We provide counselors in each of our schools so that young kids who are in need of extra support and their parents, caregivers, teachers, and administrators have access to skilled professionals when they're dealing with emotional issues. We also provide senior services for the elders in our community who maybe need access to services as they age and family members who support them in those decisions. And on the prevention side of things, we have the Healthy Youth Initiative, where we work upriver to prevent some of the distress and need that we see in the community. Parenting support and skill building around substance abuse prevention and mental health promotion are two of the main strategies that we do on the prevention side of the house. COVID has fundamentally changed the way that we offer services at YFS. When the pandemic hit in March of 2020, we had to close our building. We transitioned to a telemental health platform, so we're still able to offer therapy and other social supports via the computer. We're able to engage remotely with students in the schools and parents, administrators in the schools, and we're able to provide all of our services via the computer screen. With the closure of the thrift shop, we've also experienced tremendous financial stress. And we went through a series of reductions in the spring that were transformative for the agency. We weren't able to meet the needs in the same way that we had pre-pandemic. We lost counselors, We decreased the time that our staff were available in the schools. We decreased the time that our therapists were available to community members, and that had a significant impact. Thanks to generous donors like you and the support of the foundation and the city, we are rebuilding. We have unfurloughed all of our school staff, so they're back to full time, thanks to an external grant for the 21 and 22 school years. And thanks to the foundation for supporting us through this biennium as well. Donors like you have allowed us to have those financial supports in place to resume some of our services. Donors like you have also allowed us to expand our emergency assistance functions. We have community members on Mercer Island who are really struggling with financial insecurity, who are struggling to make their rent payments, put food on the table, and meet their basic needs. Food pantry usage has increased by 100%. We are double pre-pandemic usage levels, and we see an opportunity to really help folks thanks to you. 2020 was a hard year, and we see a lot of work ahead in 2021 and 2022. The recovery from this pandemic is going to be lengthy when we think about the mental health impacts that it has had. We're grateful to the community for the support that allows us to remain in these positions, doing this work with you, and we're hopeful that we can get through this and continue to meet the community wellness needs on Mercer Island.
Thank you, Tamby. It's clear MIYFS services are vital for our community. We are better together because of MIYFS, and these services require our support. As I mentioned, the foundation funds only one portion of the city department's overall budget. MIYFS's largest source of funding is normally from sales at the Mercer Island Thrift Shop. The shop provides about $1 million a year to YFS. Due to COVID restrictions, the thrift shop was forced to shut down, and even now is only operating at extremely limited capacity. It is unclear when the thrift shop will be able to open at pre-COVID levels. The second major source of funding historically has been from the City of Mercer Island General Fund. But like all cities in recent years, Mercer Island has had to make tough budget cuts. While it still houses and provides legal and administrative support to MIYFS and has provided small one-time allocations to the department in 2020 and 2021, and a substantial one in 2022 to cover COVID losses, it is not currently able to commit to any permanent funding beyond next year. The third piece of the pie, so to speak, is where you and I come in, the MIYFS Foundation. As other funding sources shrink, the foundation seeks to fill them. With the extraordinary gaps left by the absence of the thrift shop and the city revenue in flux, the city has accepted a $1 million grant from the foundation to be used to maintain services in 2021. This is why we need you. Despite today's uncertainty, what we can control as a community is raising enough funds to keep the MIYFS workforce stable during the period of recovery, enabling them to continue to provide the services that are so critical to our island families. It is no small task. We can't fill these gaps without your support. From children to seniors and everyone in between, MIYFS is the safety net that supports all of us. We're grateful to the thousands of volunteers that have served the foundation over our 32-year history. We are pleased to announce we've hired our first ever executive director and are doubling our fundraising goals in order to fill the gaps. And we are confident we have the right professional to guide us. Please join me in welcoming MIYFS Foundation Executive Director, Cynthia Daste.
Thank you, Jim. Hi, as Jim mentioned, my name is Cynthia Daste, and I'm the first executive director the foundation has ever had. And I'm truly honored to have been selected to serve in this role. With over 25 years serving in the nonprofit world, I've worked with many boards and am moved by the committed, engaged, and passionate people behind the organization. I am also impressed by the depth of the partnership between the city, the department, and the foundation that brings so many incredible services to the community of Mercer Island. I'll be working with the board on expanding all of our current fundraising campaigns, most notably our major donor program. If you're interested in broadening your support for the foundation, I would love to talk to you. I would like to express a huge thank you to Julia Hokinson and Becky McHale, our two amazing breakfast chairs, for rising up and serving as leaders to make the transition from a live to a virtual event. They had no idea when they volunteered to be chairs what they were getting themselves into, and they've gone far above and beyond in making this an event I know you will enjoy, learn from, and be affected by. Thank you so much for joining us today and showing your support. We so appreciate you.
Thank you, Cynthia. My name is Mina Bellamore, and I have been an MIYFS Foundation board member for 5 years. At this time, we would like to honor a former Foundation board member and my friend, Mai Krishnaswamy. Mai sadly passed away on October 6th last year after a long illness. Mai joined the Foundation board in 2018, making an immediate and profound impact within the organization. She served as the co-chair of the Strategic Marketing Committee, was an indispensable member of the Breakfast Committee, and also served as vice president of our board. We will miss her and her vibrant contributions to our board and our community. Special thanks to Sonal Niathi for the performance you're about to see, and to the families of these talented young dancers. We extend our most sincere sympathy to Mai's family. Our loss is immeasurable, but her legacy lives in our hearts, inspiring us to see clearly, act decisively, and be kind in all that we do.
समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु अनिल के शांति अनल के शांति गगन के शांति भुवि के शांति अनिल के शांति अनल के शांति गगन के शांति जीवन के शांति नम्मेडगे सुविचारगळु विश्व समस्तदिं हरिदु बरली लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu.
For the past several years, the Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Foundation, along with the Breakfast Committee, has given a philanthropy award to an individual business, or organization on the island to recognize a strong partnership with MIYFS. The entire mission of MIYFS is to lift up those among us who are in difficult situations. Regardless of circumstances, age, or income, MIYFS is able to provide crucial, practical assistance far exceeding that which any of us could offer on our own.
MIYFS Foundation is dedicated to helping Islanders grow, thrive, and contribute to the community. Only by being a good neighbor can we build a stronger community. MIYFS Foundation would like to acknowledge a remarkable collaboration that emerged this year that not only benefits MIYFS, but many other Mercer Island businesses and nonprofit organizations as well. So on behalf of Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Foundation, congratulations to our 2021 Community Philanthropy Award winner, the We Love MI COVID Relief Campaign.
Hello, Mercer Island. It's such an honor to be accepting this award on behalf of this phenomenal group of leaders. It has been a privilege and joy to work alongside the 14 other tireless community volunteers that conceived of, developed, launched, and ran the We Love MI COVID Relief Campaign. When I think of the campaign, it reminds me of a snowball. It started out with an idea that started rolling, collecting more strength as more people got on board, and growing to something large and impactful. Back in the spring, when the pandemic began, a few of the Mercer Island Community Fund board members looked around and said, how can we help? We had the idea of a community-wide COVID relief campaign, and we reached out to the leaders of the island's leading organizations, including MIYFS Foundation, the Schools Foundation, Chamber of Commerce, and the JCC, and asked them to join our efforts. And during this time, when we had just been thrust into a world of fear and uncertainty, sheltering in place, figuring out homeschooling and Zoom, these 15 leaders said yes. We started meeting on Zoom a few times a week, and the snowball grew. Each person on this team brought something different, an idea, a perspective, a skill, a resource, a connection, a design. We even had one leadership team member bring along an entire high school entrepreneurship class. On our many Zoom meetings, we bonded and became each other's COVID support group. But more importantly, we inspired each other to keep going, to keep pushing the snowball. Eventually, that snowball grew to over $250,000 for our small businesses and nonprofits. Sadly, COVID is still wreaking havoc. Our small businesses and nonprofits are still feeling the pain. Thanks to this team's commitment, We Love MI is an ongoing campaign, and you can still go to welovemi.org to support our community. One of the many reasons that we love MI is the fact that our community members take care of each other with generosity and support when it's needed most. We're so proud to lead this campaign, which continues to inspire our community to come together to provide this light in a dark time. Thank you to MIYFS for acknowledging the hard work and dedication of the We Love MI leadership team.
Congratulations again to the We Love MI COVID Relief Campaign. Congratulations. And thank you for your support of Mercer Island Youth and Family Services. Thank you. Now, a reminder, you may support MIYFS at any time by going online to MIYFS.org/donate. That's MIYFS.org/donate. And remember, the Rise Up game is still going. Keep track of how many times someone says Rise Up. I've just said it twice. Rise up. Now 3 times. All right, that's 3 more times you add. All right, I hope your kids have risen up from their beds. See what I did?
Hi, I'm Derek Franklin, Clinical Supervisor at Mercer Island Youth and Family Services. I've got the honor of working with our school-based counselors and outpatient clinicians supporting the community. Without the direct connection we usually rely on in schools and the community, it's more difficult for us to reach out to parents and kids, students in the hallways, and others to really see how they're doing under these unprecedented times. And it's very clear to us that more intervention is needed. On a national level, Up to 60% of the population is expected to qualify for some mental health diagnosis in the next 1 to 2 years. Some of the issues typically we're seeing in these times include increased anxiety, depression, conflict at home, relational conflict or parents, couples, and we're seeing issues that simply are more prevalent for elementary and middle school kids. Part of the challenge, of course, is the isolation of leaving these kids so vulnerable to extremes in thoughts and behaviors. That is, without some sort of context for them to understand their development and to understand how their peers and friends are doing themselves, it's very hard for them to get a clear picture of how to be healthy, hopeful, and positive during these times. We really try to look at the issues facing different age groups of youth and young adults. For example, the 18 to 24-year-old age range are really having a difficulty thriving and launching, and their first year of college was clearly not what they were expecting. Similarly, we see parents struggling to help their kids engage with remote learning, and kids across the board just having a hard time understanding what's going on and how to connect to school and how to connect to their friends. We see island seniors being more isolated and their caregivers being exhausted. This is a difficult time for seniors who rely on family and kids and grandkids that connect with them to keep them energized and motivated. Looking at the Department of Health's disaster recovery models, we predict that over the next 6 to 12 to 18 months across the community, we're going to see increased levels of depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, and other challenges that people, kids, families, seniors are facing as we come through the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, Youth and Family Services was more adequately staffed to address some of the needs of the community. But now, with increased need and decreased capacity, we're really struggling in some ways to meet all the demands. We're really trying hard to not let anybody fall through the cracks.
More and more people are getting coronavirus. It's the COVID. The COVID is making so much trouble. It's a horrible, terrible virus.
2020, the biggest challenge is just like the isolation at home and just the quarantines and just the restrictions, and having my senior year of high school be online and away from my friends and no homecoming, Tolo, prom, and all that stuff.
2020 has definitely been a roller coaster. The biggest challenge has just been keeping in touch with all my friends and my family, keeping my stable connections with them.
I'd say one of the main challenges I've had, especially with remote schooling, has been being kind of isolated.
I was really down on myself because I felt like I wasn't doing enough. As a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, at the time, I feel like I should be out doing something, working, making money, but I wasn't, and I felt kind of a lack of confidence.
I can't have indoor playtime with friends.
The distance and keeping socially away from everyone. I think it's hard for people to stay connected, and there's only limited amount of ways we can access each other, like phone and texting and stuff. So I think that we're all kind of losing a little bit of social skills, during this time.
I would say 2020 has kind of been a year of discovery. I don't know, I think high schoolers often are very wrapped up in their own worlds, but being able to see the pandemic and its effects on so many Americans has been, I guess, eye-opening.
As a 2021 incoming freshman, we also lost a chance of having a regular freshman year. Some kids were able and lucky enough to go to school. I opted to stay at home and be remote. I go to Gonzaga University, and it's known for the basketball team and known for the school spirit, and we just didn't get to experience any of that this semester.
It's had a profound effect on these young people looking to launch to the next phase of their lives. It's a loss of really important rituals in our culture. Missing graduation, missing their final sports season might be the last time they play that sport, let alone play it with all their friends. As they proceed to college, I've seen a lot of young people failing to launch, failing to learn important life skills, especially here on Mercer Island, which is a little bit sheltered.
We have basically just taken everything we told kids and families to count on, and then we sort of took it away and shook it up and put it back in a different way and said, okay, but do the same things.
I worry about loneliness. I have so many seniors that are alone and struggling
and want to reach out but don't necessarily know how, or haven't been able to access technology in the way that they could. Across the board, I'm seeing that with every age, just people who are not wanting to go on, who are not wanting to keep waking up in the morning or using other things. I'm seeing an increase in substance abuse. I'm seeing an increase in child abuse. I'm seeing an increase in emotional abuse with people that are tired of being cooped up with each other and are frustrated and want to move on. That is the hardest part to watch.
The lingering mental health concerns are going to go on for quite a while, and that we need to really be thinking beyond when everyone gets vaccinated. This is going to go on potentially for 2 years. The impact, almost every one of us is having some symptoms of anxiety, depression, and that this isn't just going to disappear. And we need to make sure that we have the support for our services in place to help mitigate these ongoing effects. The majority of young people get their mental health services at school. And so our counseling network allows us to support young people to get through maybe small transitory transition kind of adjustment things, and actually to help address potentially long-term mental health issues. The sooner we can address those, the sooner we can get young people on a positive and healthy developmental track. The average time for someone to get support for their mental illness is almost 8 years. So by having counselors in the schools, we can address those things as they're emerging and create systemic responses that really help them get back on the path they need to be to have healthy development.
For a little kid, you know, it's really a lot to deal with, to start to understand, like, who am I in America and why are people like anti things that looks like me. And so it brings a lot of invalidation to their identity, and a lot of time what happens is they internalize that, then they see themselves as bad, right? They see themselves, oh, this is a part of my identity that is not valued and actually harmful. And so then they start to pretend or not choose to identify with that ethnic identity or that culture. And so anytime when you push away a part of your identity, it becomes this cognitive dissonance of who you are internally. And that's what results in a lot of the mental health problems.
I know when I grew up here, there was not a lot of African American students in the school, and there was not a lot of Middle Eastern students. There was mainly a lot of white kids and Asian kids, me being a mix.
On xenophobia, I think that there has been a bit of a stigma around really just being Asian. I think some people have gone under the assumption that since COVID originated in China, people from China or that are Asian, especially East Asian or are perceived as being Chinese, have it. or are way more likely to have it, and to me, this is mostly illogical.
I didn't know anyone, I didn't have any friends, so through sports, I met most of my friends. Most of the kids were white, so I would do what they did, act as they did. And I think it took a little bit of me wanting to grow up, in a sense, and grow into myself to be more comfortable and not necessarily have to confine to how I think they think I should act. And that's what the biggest thing. I always thought they thought I should act a certain way, and so I tried to act that way. And it wasn't easy for a little bit. It still isn't easy. Obviously, when I go into the store, I make sure I take my hood off. When I just go into town, I make sure that I don't like look at someone a different way. I don't look at cops, stuff like that. There's certain things that I just know that I don't need to do, just so I don't put an extra label on me, because there is a label on you.
When people are walking down the street, they'll just get yelled at, go back to where you're from, and assuming that someone's from China, that they somehow has brought the virus over. So there's those direct attacks, and it has happened on Mercer Island.
I think it's kind of hard for most people to understand each other and our differences on a racial level, because it's predominantly white and there's only a few kids of color, any race. And so it's kind of hard to connect with, different backgrounds and different races when you don't really understand each other on that kind of level.
As long as equity is somebody else's problem, we're not going to make any meaningful steps. I think there's also a fear that somehow equity for everybody means less for my own family or less for my own kid. And the fact of the matter is that's just not right. I think we have such an issue as adults feeling like we need to know better than kids. And the thing is, we don't. It's okay for kids to know more than we do about a subject, especially when that subject is who they are. Stop putting our kids in boxes, because the less we put kids in boxes, the less they have to fight to get out. If you look at the research about trans students, they have high rates of depression, suicidal ideation, real mental health challenges. But that is not correlated with being trans. That is correlated with not being accepted by the community they live in. And we are that community. We can change that.
In June, we had a march for Mercer Island, and I think we had maybe a little bit over 1,000 residents and teachers and students come. And with that, we had a list of demands for our city and also for our schools. I guess highlights of them would include changing the reading list at the high school, hiring more staff of color, and then within our city, addressing microaggressions within the city council. I think right now they're adding a cultural awareness class that council members have to take.
A moment that was really meaningful for me was participating in the march with the students and having the opportunity to have open and authentic conversations. Students were vulnerable in addressing really difficult topics and recognizing their own privileges, asking really hard questions.
I feel like this is a wake-up call for us to be more intentional about creating a larger strategy of how do you make sure that our education and awareness, right, is embedded and systematic, where we advocate and promote for diversity and inclusion.
Well, because I own a business, we have over 1,000 customers every month that comes through our salon. And through the clients, they tend to confide in people who do their hairs. To all the families that's going through difficult times, I would really encourage them to call the Mercer Island Youth and Family Services, because they will help you without judgment. They will help you no matter what financial level you are on, and no matter what ethnic background you are. And I just feel that they have such a wide open net for the community. And I would encourage everybody and all families to not to be ashamed of your problems, but just go there and tell them what is going on, and they will help you.
I think there's a reason I work with children. You can't spend too much time paying attention in the presence of kids and not see the amazing way they can rise up through whatever adversity this world has thrown at them.
I think of YFS as a great resource to go to, especially since they provide the school counselors. I have Harry Brown as my school counselor, and he is one of the co-advisors for Sources of Strength, one of the school clubs I attend. That group is all about kind of educating mentors and peers on helping classmates who might be having trouble or are in crisis.
When my son started kindergarten, we realized that he was a little bit different than some of the other kids. So Adam's kindergarten teacher recommended that he talk to the school counselor, and that's when I first learned about Mercer Island Youth and Family Services. They did some evaluations for him at the school through MIYFS and through the school counselors. The counselors were they were there to help us identify and point us to the resources that we needed to figure out what was going on. After I got over the initial shock, it's really been a huge relief, because having them identify that early and then speak to us as a family really gently kind of ease us into that process. There's a 6-month wait for evaluations for child psychologists. So having that in-school support is just really essential. I mean, there's kids in crisis, especially with COVID. I would advise any family that identifies that their children have attention or behavior issues to not be ashamed. There's so much stigma, but there's so much relief once you find out what's going on.
For 32 years, Mercer Island Youth and Family Services has been very helpful in our practice and for the kids that I've taken care of. My most favorite is the counselors that are in the elementary and middle school and high school. They have been able to solve or prevent problems that I know would have become bigger problems. One of the things that's happened with COVID is there's a much increased need for psychological support and therapy. And some of our old standby therapists, even this week we got a letter from one of our groups that we refer to who said, "We cannot see any more of your patients. Please stop referring patients." Mercer Island Youth and Family Services counseling staff have always been there for our patients and continue to see and support our families and their needs.
The need for psychiatric and psychological care in the youth of Mercer Island has never been higher. Looking back at 2020 in my own practice, I can say that there's been probably a doubling of visits for anxiety and depression, as well as other mental health conditions. Also looking back, there have been more deaths in my practice due to suicide than any other 3 illnesses combined. The need is not just acute, it's hyperacute, and the resources are very limited.
My biggest concern is always suicidality and not wanting to keep fighting the fight. And that's my worry. I worry about that with clients all the time, that's going to happen of any age. And just the weariness, the sorrow, the sadness, the frustration, the agony, the loneliness. So that is the hardest part.
Like most people in the country, watching our community struggle with COVID-19 has been the ultimate challenge. Adding to that, all the injustices we're seeing throughout the country in our own community is additional challenge. I think as a community, we also want to do everything we can to help. And the value of tikkun olam, which is repairing the world or bettering the world, is something that many Jews hold very deeply. It's part of the fabric of our peoplehood. And there's a sense of hopelessness at the beginning when COVID-19 first struck, that we were all helpless in that fight against COVID-19. And over time, what we've seen is our community finding as many means as possible to try to help.
Hive means strong, was by taking precautions of COVID and like I 6 feet away, but it's been a little hard in that part, but I've stayed strong, so.
I just love this year's breakfast theme of Rise Up because personally for me, as someone who came to America as a refugee, I see that when things are the darkest, that is when the human hope and innovation and the human power is really, we have the light in us. So how do we really allow this time to let our light shine?
It's super important that people who are unable to work, unable to have stable food security, do get the help they need. I think now more than ever, being able to help the Mercer Island Youth and Family Services and the people around us who might not be doing well is super important.
I would say MIYFS has been a critical part of our family, just helping us identify what my child's issues were, what he was at risk for, and giving him a safe space and giving our family a safe space. It was a very, very stormy time, and they were our harbor. And I don't know where we would be without them.
I love how the community has continued to support Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Foundation because I really rely on those services to treat my patients. So I want to thank all of the people who have given to the Mercer Island Youth and Family Services Foundation in the past. And please continue and increase your support if you're able at this time.
The demand for services provided by Mercer Island Youth and Family Service has almost never been higher, and yet the financial resources and support has almost never been lower. With the closure of the thrift store, the impact on our economy, it's been devastating. This right now is an opportunity for you to be a helper. Rise up and donate to Mercer Island Youth and Family Services. And if you need help, seek that help out.
You just heard many voices from across the community talking about their thoughts and experiences during COVID. And the good news, Mercer Islanders again are coming together and helping one another rise up to meet these challenges. MIYFS is supporting community resiliency in many ways. We're shifting our capacity to meet more of the basic needs of folks struggling in the pandemic. We're focusing specifically on the needs of Mercer Island kids and families, including supporting parents with the Incredible Years program, increasing support from our emergency and family assistance, and making sure the food pantry is adequately stocked to meet the food needs of folks across the community. We're providing parents and kids training on suicide prevention and supporting our youth. We're also supporting our youth in schools by putting more emphasis on social emotional learning to help them make it through the pandemic and remote learning stressors that we're seeing across so many kids. At Youth and Family Services, we try to balance hope with concern. While there's plenty of concern under the pandemic, we're so hopeful that with your help, we can come together and again, adequately staff our department to rise up and meet the needs of the community.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you so much. And thanks also to the many Mercer Islanders willing to share their experiences over this last year. But again, thank you, Derek. Please donate. I mean, you've heard the story, so please donate to MIYFS by donating at MIYFS.org/donate, MIYFS.org/donate. I will keep saying that. We are now honored to hear from our keynote speaker, Mr. Kelly John Lewis. He has served as Mercer Island High School's security liaison for more than 21 years, a 6'9" black man. Over the years, Mr. John Lewis has faced accusations of stealing money from the school, harassing staff, and intimidating the school community. Ridiculous. However, school district investigations have found that not a single one of these claims is legitimate. Kelly John Lewis is raising his children on Mercer Island and will now graciously share his experiences of living and working in this community. Kelly?
Hello, Mercer Island community. I'd like to thank Mercer Island Youth and Family Services for this opportunity to speak today. I want to give you a little background information about myself. I grew up in Lapewani, California. We moved from California when I was the age of 14 to Keynote, Washington, the Tri-Cities. And at that time, school wasn't easy for me and school wasn't important to me. Reading was real difficult. Very little ability with math. Years later, I was diagnosed being dyslexic, and that was diagnosed at the University of Washington at the age of 19. It was obvious why I struggled so hard with school, and I still struggle with school and writing and reading and math. Education wasn't a priority in the John Lewis house. Being a good person, being accountable were the guided principles in my family. But however, it was important that my 3 siblings and myself did graduate high school. College wasn't an expectation. If we wanted to go to college, we needed to figure out how we were going to do it. We were blessed with my father's athleticism. We had height and size. We were so blessed that we all received scholarship to Division I schools. The sad thing about that blessing is that none of us received our degree in the time that we were at the university. Which brings me to my message today, my why. And my why is why a black man would choose to raise 2 kids of color on a predominantly all-white island with very little diversity. Let me tell you, it wasn't easy. See, my why affected the 2 most important people in my life, my kids, Caleb, who is now 20, and Jacob, who is now 17. By the way, Caleb will be the first John Lewis to have a degree. I gave up a lot to give him a better life than I had. I wanted them to receive a better education than I did. I wanted them to be safe. I wanted them to understand the importance of an education. And I wanted them to have a better future than myself. I wanted to give them the same opportunities as all the white kids and all the Asian kids had. I wanted to give them a better life than the majority of the black children in this country have. And for that, it was worth it. Growing up, a lot of gang issues where I was raised up in California, Los Angeles, Southern California. So the concerns for black families were just keeping your kids safe and giving them that education. I focused on my weaknesses, and I knew my weaknesses, and I didn't want my kids to have those same weaknesses, so I wanted to raise them in a completely different environment than I was raised in. And it was a struggle because I'm saying it's better, and that's tough to say. If you're white, it's better when you're not white, and you don't want to say you're ashamed of being the color you are. You don't have a choice of how you're born. So I struggled with that. That was a real struggle when I decided to raise my kids on Mercer Island, because I didn't want them to think white was better. First of all, the #1 color that is accepted is green. And when I mean green, I mean money. I've never fit that standard. From day one being hired, I felt like I was a liability. My first experience was with a young man, was in front of the principal's office outside, and he called me the N-word. And my reaction wasn't very professional, I own that. Basically the next day, that young man and his parents came and had a restraining order against me, and I had to stay away from him. And that was the consequence. I was raised that, you have to allow things to affect you. And that's how I handled it. I just dealt with it within. It wasn't about complaining. I don't need the pat on the back to work here for 22 years, otherwise I wouldn't have lasted. The way they handled it told me how I needed to handle it in the future. The N-word is used so many times at the school through music and so forth, and they're saying it all the time. Like you'll go in the locker room and it will just be blasting, and there's that one kid of color just looking at everybody sing that word and say that word. I have 2 kids. They both look completely different. One resembles me, one resembles their mother. And even in their upbringing on the island, they were treated differently. One looked white and one looked black. Your color, that's it. That's what distinguishes you, your color. It's a scene that we're visual people, we see it. And to have, and to have that color not represented in any fashion, other than what the kids see on television and on YouTube and listening to music, honestly, the N-word is thrown around probably 300 times a day in that school. You bring a kid of color at the high school, you got to realize they're not being asked to homecomings, they're not going to the Tolos, and it's not that the kids are racist, I'm not saying that. They stick with their groups. My role at school made it hard on my kids, but there was just no way that I could allow my kids to be in this environment without me having a watchful eye on them and really seeing that they were socially, emotionally okay in this environment because of their color and the lack of resources for kids of color. Nothing was going to deter me from my kids getting a good education because I took that for granted. Everything was given to me because I was gifted with my dad's athleticism and size, Like I said, 35 Division I offers, never taken a foreign language, never SAT or any of those other tests and so forth. It was really important that my kids understand the value of an education. And unfortunately, environments in communities that are primarily of color, education is not a primary thing. And if it is, it lacks what white communities can offer. When you're coming over here for a person of color, you're not saying, oh, I'm going to a place with great diversity. That's not why people of color come here. And then just like I said, it's not about affordable living on this island. So they're really coming here for one reason, for an education. But you're giving up, you're just losing the culture, just all the things that Black people and what they bring to their culture. I denied my kids a proper Black culture. Black culture is it's energy. It's excitement. It's just for me when I growing up and being raised around people that look like me, that thought like me. I had more teachers that looked like me. Even though the environment wasn't the best or the safest, I felt accepted. My oldest son, Caleb, struggled when he went to college relating with people of color. But I know that the way I raised him, he didn't quit. He continued to put himself out there with people of color and get accepted, and that's good. That I'm so pleased. Like he sees the real world in such a different way now than when he was on Mercer Island. My personal opinion is that as Black families raise their kids through elementary on Mercer Island and they get into the middle school and to the high school, they see that their social emotional needs for their kids are not being met, so they're moving off the island. But by being here through elementary school and middle school, however long, they're giving them a very strong educational foundation. And hopefully that foundation can take them and carry them on. The number one thing that you can do to continue to have people of color want to come here is bring them to the table when you're talking about them. That's the number one thing. If we really believe it takes a village, then it takes a village. We all need to be part of it. We need to tell little Billy to go play with little William. We really do. There's one incident where a young man greeted me as, "What's up?" And I looked at him and I took him outside, and we had words. And I told him why he could not address me in that way. So it worked out that he saw he was wrong. He apologized. I saw that he was truly sorry for the way he spoke to me, and we had a great relationship. I embrace my flaws, my weaknesses. We all have them. They become less of a problem when you embrace them and realize that you have them. If you're a mother of kids in elementary school and they have kids of color in their class and you're having sleepovers, reach out and invite them. Understand that it's tough for them, especially at that age, to be able to express themselves or say how they're feeling. So just include them in everything. For the parents, hey, hi, let's go have some coffee. My name is get to know them. You know, listening is really important. Always listen. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And this is what I know about Youth and Family Services. Personally, for me, having the Chris Harnish at the high school has benefited me. You know, because when I really am struggling and I look for a person like me to talk to and there is no one, the one person that I will go to is Chris, because he's so balanced. I don't know, he sees it from my perspective, and I know he sees it from the white perspective. So the services that Chris has provided for me over the years has been invaluable. I've made some phenomenal relationships with families on the island through coaching and through school and everything. So I definitely think I'm part of the community in ways. I love coaching. And if the kids can get past my size and the intimidation factor and get to know me, I think I have a lot to offer to them. And they have a lot to offer to me. I learned so much from this, from some different years from all these kids through my 22 years. You know, it's just a blessing for that. You know, this is a giving community. They do a lot of volunteering, a lot of good things in this community. But for people of color, that's tough. There's a goal. Everybody wants to stomp out systemic racism, right? Stop it. That's not going to happen. Listen to me. It's a Mercer Island. You're not gonna do that, okay? You're not gonna stomp it out. It's not gonna happen. Focus on things that you can change, which is making this environment better for the people of color that are on this island. You really got to reach out to them. You really have got to reach out to them. You do. Like I said, you know, for 22 years I've been here, and this is a big change for me, stepping outside my box. And shame on me. I feel really bad because I should know every kid of color at that school, and I don't. But it's going to change. I'm going to know every kid of color. I'm going to be an impact. I'm going to be a role model. I need to be a role model because it's needed. It's needed. and I can do that. I think I can do that.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly John Lewis. Thank you so much. We appreciate your long service on Mercer Island and all you have done for the island's youth. Thank you. We appreciate you sharing your experiences. Thank you so much. So, guys, this is why we're here to donate to Mercer Island Youth and Family Services. Please donate at MIYFS.org/donate. That's MIYFS.org/donate. This morning's program could not have happened without our generous sponsors. Now, I'd like to give a big shout out to our friends Tina and Joe Kennedy at Barrels. At Barrels Experience Wine, which I have not experienced yet, but I really do need to experience it. Here it's new. They are our platinum sponsor. So thank you so much, Tina and Joe. We are also grateful to our gold level sponsors, the McHale Foundation, Ellen and John Gordon Hill, Emmanuel Church, and of course the Chris family. Sincere thanks also to our silver level sponsors. Give yourselves, there's a lot of you, so give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much. And we also appreciate our bronze, copper, and friends of YFS sponsors. Check out all those supportive families and organizations on the Rise Up website, breakfast.miyfs.org. So thank you again. I'd like to now introduce Jody Chris, past president of the MIYFS Foundation. She on the board of directors. Jody.
Thank you to each person who shared a story of struggle and of hope today. In 2020, our community rose up to provide the YFS services that were needed for neighbors who were suffering from job loss, food insecurity, mental health issues, or bereavement. We need to keep that momentum going. Given the thrift shop's reduced hours and the city's depressed revenue, and the fact that we don't have a permanent funding solution past 2022, we need to look ahead and dig deep so that we can save these services that are near and dear to all of our hearts. If you're a family that weathered the pandemic financially strong, please consider a substantial gift today. Our sponsors will match every $500 donation. If you're a family who still is feeling a bit battered by the pandemic, think of other ways you can give. You can volunteer for foundation events to help us raise money, or you can consider a small monthly donation. Every bit helps. Only with a diverse, equitable, inclusive, and caring community can we move forward for universal wellness across our island. Thank you for giving. Now's the time to open up that donation link and rise up for MIYFS.
Thank you, Jody. Jody, thank you so much. Remember to submit your email entry to the Rise Up game at riseupmiyfs@gmail.com. That's riseupmiyfs@gmail.com. I've just said it a few more times. Now, you want to put the total number of times you've heard any version of the phrase Rise Up, and be sure to include your contact information in the body of the email, not the subject line. Full game rules are available on the Rise Up website, breakfast.miyfs.org. That's breakfast.miyfs.org. 1 entry per household. Remember, no targeting. Our volunteers will reach out to our first 20 correct entrants, and you'll receive some sweet prizes, I am told. Thank you again to our sponsors for your generous support of Mercer Island Youth and Family Services. Thank you. Donate at miyfs.org/donate. miyfs.org/donate. I'm going to say it and say it. We hope you'll each consider donating $250. I would encourage you to give more if you can. And remember, to include matching funds from your employers. How about that? Now, we need MIYFS now more than ever. MIYFS is the safety net that supports all of us. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming to the breakfast. I have to also say the Rise Up game ends right now. The game is over now, so hopefully you've submitted, and that's it. So anyway, thank you. Hopefully I will see you next year, and hopefully I will have a haircut and we'll have shaved. See you later, everybody. Thanks a lot.
keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. And we've been mostly healthy. We've been okay. Are you okay? Are you alright? Are you okay? Are you alright? Are you okay? I hope your body is whole tonight. And if your heart is breaking, I hope it's breaking open. And if your breath is shaking, I hope it's shaking through. And I hope that you've watched a lot of really great television, like a lot of it. And I hope that you find a hand lotion that actually makes your skin feel better. And I hope that you have enough to eat. I hope you're getting enough sleep, and I hope you have enough good company or enough good memory to last you a long time. Keep going on. Keep going on song. We sing the keep going on. Keep going on song. Let's bring some joy into the room, why not? We can try it, or some rage, and some grief and relief. Ooh, I hope my rage, I pray my rage is a fire that cleans my mind out and makes me ready to listen. I pray my pain is a river that flows to the ocean that connects my pain to yours. And I pray my happiness is like pollen that flies to you and pollinates your joy. Oh boy, is that possible? I don't know, we are making this up as we go. We have to make it up as we go. The keep going song, oh, we're making it up as we go. Keep going on song. And I pray that when we meet again, that the world has changed into the world that we are imagining now together. And I pray that the world has become the world that we're planting inside of ourselves for each other and for our ancestors and for our kids. Ooh, and we're gonna start. This is a rough beginning. That's all I've got is a rough beginning to offer you. We're gonna start by singing some songs in this tiny space together. We're just gonna sing some songs for you, and we hope that when you hear them, you will feel a little bit less alone, and we will feel a little bit less alone in the work and in the hurt, and we will be together tonight somehow, whenever this is, wherever this is. We will be together tonight for the keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a keep going on. Keep going on song. This is a